They never expect you to notice. Not at first. Because betrayal doesn't wear a mask of malice, it wears the face of familiarity. It walks like a friend, speaks like family, and when it strikes, it doesn't make a sound. You don't hear it coming. You feel it. A shift. Silence. A sudden chill in the room when they say your name, but don't meet your eyes. And just like that, the trust you built brick by brick is shattered by the very hand you helped to hold. But let me tell you something. Betrayal is never the end of the story. No, it's just the beginning of a truth louder than lies, a rise greater than the fall, and a reckoning that always comes. Because no matter how cleverly it's buried, betrayal never ends well. The cold nature of betrayal. Betrayal rarely storms in with fury or fireworks. Instead, it creeps in like frost on a window pane. Quiet, slow, and almost invisible until the damage is already done. It doesn't shout. It doesn't slam doors or break things in broad daylight. No, betrayal is far more refined in its cruelty. It prefers the dark corners, the soft tones, the polite nods. It lives in the moments when someone smiles at you while their heart walks away. It lives in the empty reassurances, the half-kept promises, the carefully delayed truths. And that's what makes it so chilling, because you never see it for what it is until it's too late. By the time you realize what's happened, the person you thought would stand beside you has already stepped back, not with an apology, but with silence. The cruelest thing about betrayal isn't the act itself, it's the betrayal of memory. You look back and start questioning every word they ever said, every laugh you shared, every gesture of kindness. It all begins to rot under the weight of suspicion. Was any of it real? Or was it all a performance designed to keep you soft while they waited for the perfect moment to strike? That doubt begins to rewrite your history. It turns warmth into warning signs, affection into manipulation, loyalty into naivety. And in the end, you're left not just with a broken bond, but with a mind full of ghosts whispering, "You should have seen it coming." And what makes betrayal even colder is its precision. It doesn't come from strangers. A stranger can hurt you, yes, but they cannot betray you. Only those you once trusted with your deepest thoughts, only those you welcomed into your private world can carry that dagger in their hands. And when they use it, they know exactly where to strike. That's what separates betrayal from other wounds. It's not just personal, it's surgical. It doesn't aim to fight, it aims to end something. Trust, love, hope, whatever light existed between you. Betrayal doesn't argue with it, it extinguishes it. There's something terribly calculated about how quietly betrayal moves. It never wants to be noticed while it's happening. It wants to be mistaken for kindness, for care, for closeness. Because if it can keep wearing the mask of friendship a little longer, it can do more damage without resistance. And by the time that mask falls, the person standing before you is no longer someone you recognize. They may still have the same voice, the same face, the same habits, but their loyalty is gone. Their truth is gone, and the person you once leaned on becomes the reason you fall. That's the cold nature of betrayal. It doesn't just cut, it chills the soul. And even long after the moment has passed, even when life moves on, there's a quiet part of you that never quite forgets how cold it felt to be burned by someone who once claimed to love you. The short-lived triumph of the betrayer. In the moment betrayal is carried out, the betrayer often feels a quiet sense of victory. Not the loud, chest-beating kind, no, something far more dangerous. A silent self-satisfaction. as if they've outwitted the one who trusted them. They tell themselves they were clever, that they played the game better, that they saw an opportunity and took it. And for a while it might even look like they're right. Life appears to reward them. They walk away untouched, calm, perhaps even smiling. They whisper to themselves that they've escaped the burden, dodged the loyalty, severed the tie, and gained something in return. But what they don't realize is that their triumph is borrowed time. It's a fleeting illusion dressed in confidence, and it never lasts. What seems like a win in the moment is often the start of a quiet unraveling. Because you cannot build a peaceful life on broken promises. You cannot walk freely when you've wounded someone who once opened their heart to you. That sense of triumph begins to decay the moment silence falls. When there's no one left to deceive, when the attention fades, and when the dust begins to settle, the weight of what they've done begins to press against their conscience. And no matter how deeply they bury it, no matter how many distractions they gather, there is always a moment, often in the quietest hours, when the truth returns. They may not admit it out loud, but there is always a cost. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but betrayal doesn't come without a price. Because even if no one else sees it, they carry the knowledge of what they've done. They know they chose to destroy something real for the sake of something temporary. And the shame of that choice doesn't fade, it festers. It grows in the background of every celebration, echoing, reminding them that the foundation they stand on is cracked. People often think justice means public punishment, but life is more poetic than that. Sometimes justice arrives in whispers, in the sleepless nights, in the relationships they can never fully trust again, in the fear that someone might do to them what they once did to you. The truth is, betrayal changes them too. It takes something from them just as it took something from you. They lose the chance to be seen as loyal, as trustworthy, as honorable. They may still smile, still gather praise from those who don't know the story, but deep down they know. They know that when it mattered most, they chose themselves in the worst possible way. And that choice becomes a shadow that follows them. It taints every victory, whispers through every quiet moment. The world may forget, but they won't, because deep down they remember the face of the person they betrayed. They remember the moment they let go, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. And that is the greatest irony. While the betrayed often rise stronger, wiser, and more grounded, the betrayer becomes trapped in the very illusion they created. Their triumph is never real. It's smoke. It's surface. Because no matter how high they climb afterward, a part of them always wonders if they will fall. Not because of someone else, but because of who they chose to become. The psychological cost of deceit. Deceit doesn't only damage the one who's deceived, it leaves a mark on the one who commits it. There's a price for playing with someone's trust, for building false bridges and leading someone across them just to watch them fall. At first, the deceiver might feel in control, empowered even, as if they've bent the situation to their will. But the human mind is not built to carry that kind of weight without consequence. It may carry it in secret, may dress it in pride or indifference. But deep within, there is a quiet chaos that begins to stir. Because when someone chooses deceit, they aren't just abandoning honesty. They are tearing apart a piece of their own integrity, and that wound rarely stays silent. There is no lasting peace for someone who wears a mask for too long. Eventually the mask grows heavy, and the lies they told begin to circle back, not from the world outside, but from the world within. Every time they revisit that moment, the lie, the betrayal, the calculated silence, something inside them is forced to remember who they pretended to be and who they chose not to be. And that internal conflict doesn't resolve easily. It lingers, it corrodes, because no matter how well they hide it from others, the truth has a way of speaking when the lights go out, when the room is empty, when there's no one left to impress or deceive. People often assume that those who betray walk away unscathed, untouched by what they've done. But emotional scars don't always show on the outside. Guilt is quiet but persistent. It whispers questions in the stillness of night. What did you destroy? What did you walk away from? Was it worth it? These questions don't fade with time. They ferment, they harden, and eventually they begin to weigh down the very soul of the deceiver. They find themselves mistrusting others, doubting the loyalty of those around them, not because others are disloyal, but because they've seen firsthand how easy it is to break trust. They've done it themselves. And that's the true punishment of deceit. It creates a world where genuine connection becomes harder to believe in, where sincerity feels suspicious, where even love begins to feel like a performance. The deceiver becomes haunted by their own tactics. They scan every smile for hidden motives. They question every kind word, because once you've weaponized trust, it becomes nearly impossible to receive it without suspicion. The mind starts to mirror its own crimes, convinced that everyone else might be just as ruthless, just as dishonest, just as willing to betray. Deceit isolates. It builds invisible walls between the deceiver and the world around them. Walls built from fear, from shame, from the knowledge that they chose to betray something sacred. And even if they appear calm on the surface, beneath that calm is a storm they cannot silence. The world may not see it, the betrayed may never hear it, but deep in the quiet chambers of their own conscience, the cost is being paid, day by day, thought by thought. And that cost is often far greater than they ever expected when they made the choice to lie. The rise of the betrayed. There's something people often misunderstand about betrayal. They think it breaks a person, that once someone is betrayed, especially by someone they loved, trusted and protected, that's the end of them, that the wound becomes permanent, the trust forever shattered, and the spirit irreversibly dulled. But that's not the whole truth. Yes, betrayal wounds deeply. Yes, it can bring a silence into a room that once echoed with laughter. Yes, it can cause someone to question not just the one who hurt them, but themselves, their choices, their instincts. But beneath all that pain, hidden under the rubble, something else begins to stir. Something stronger, something wiser. Something that doesn't rise immediately, but rises all the same. At first, the betrayed person does fall. Let's not pretend otherwise. The fall is real and it's not graceful. It's full of questions that will never be answered. It's full of sleepless nights, racing thoughts, and memories that refuse to sit still. It's full of regret for the words they didn't say, for the red flags they ignored, for the loyalty they gave so freely. But that's where the transformation begins, because unlike the betrayer who spends their life running from guilt, the betrayed is forced to confront reality. They are forced to see the truth with eyes wide open, and there is immense power in that kind of awakening. You see, betrayal removes illusions. It burns away the masks, the performances, the fantasies we build around people. It teaches us to see with precision, not through the lens of hope or longing, but through the clarity of experience. And once someone has seen the world without the veil of blind trust, they don't go back to being naive. They become discerning. They become grounded. They learn not just how to protect their heart, but how to value it. The rise of the betrayed is not an explosion. It's not loud or dramatic or instantly visible to the world. No, it's quiet. It's sacred. It's built in the mornings they get out of bed when they don't want to, in the moments they choose peace over bitterness, in the discipline of not chasing closure, and in the decision to stop looking for apologies from people who are incapable of remorse. It's in the strength to keep going, not because they were unhurt, but because they refused to stay broken. And what truly defines the rise of the betrayed is not revenge. It's not about proving the betrayer wrong or parading their strength as a way to retaliate. That kind of thinking still keeps the betrayer at the center of their story. No. True rising happens when the betrayed no longer needs to look back, when they stop asking why it happened and start asking what now, when they stop rehearsing the pain and begin designing a life that reflects their worth, not their wounds. The most dangerous thing about betraying a good person is that it wakes something up inside them, something fierce, something focused. Because the person who gave their loyalty freely now knows the value of it. The person who forgave too quickly now understands the cost of ignoring patterns. The person who once accepted excuses now demands consistency. And in that transformation, they become someone you can't fool twice, someone you can't manipulate again. Someone who may still have a soft heart, but now it's guarded by wisdom, not fear. The rise of the betrayed is a reintroduction, not to the world, but to themselves. They rediscover the strength they forgot they had. They reclaim the time, the energy, the joy that was once spent holding up someone else's broken promises. And in doing so, they become dangerous. Not in the way of harm, but in the way of resilience. Because nothing is more unshakable than a person who has faced the worst and chosen to heal anyway. And perhaps most beautifully of all, the betrayed, in rising, become more compassionate, not less. Because they know what it feels like to be broken by someone they trusted. And because of that, they carry a deeper sense of empathy, a gentler way of listening, and a stronger understanding of how sacred real love, real friendship, and real loyalty truly are. They don't just become stronger, they become better, sharper, wiser, calmer, and though it may take time, when they finally rise, they rise for good. So if you've been betrayed, and it feels like the end of something, maybe it is. But not the end of you. It's the end of who you were before you knew what you now know. And what comes next is not just recovery, it's a return to power, a rebirth, a reminder that sometimes the fall was the only way to learn how to fly. The inevitable reckoning. There is always a reckoning. It may not arrive when you expect it. It may not look like revenge or echo with thunder, but time has a way of circling back. Truth has a rhythm, and silence is never the end of the story. You see, people often think they've escaped the consequences of betrayal just because the betrayed walked away quietly. But walking away isn't surrender, it's restraint. It's choosing peace over chaos. It's rising above what could have been a battlefield. And that kind of grace does not go unnoticed. The reckoning doesn't always come in dramatic form. Sometimes it's slow, subtle. It reveals itself in patterns, in relationships that never quite last, in trust that's never fully earned again, in friendships that feel hollow because the betrayer knows deep down they've already broken something sacred once. They become haunted, not by the person they betrayed, but by the version of themselves they lost. And that loss, that erosion of character, is its own kind of punishment. Life remembers, not through superstition or fate, but through consequence. What you give to the world eventually returns. Betrayal plants seeds, and the harvest it brings is bitter. It may take months, years, even decades, but there will come a moment when the weight of what they did returns to them, not to destroy them, but to remind them that hearts are not toys, that trust is not disposable. The reckoning in the end is not about vengeance, it's about restoration, it's about balance. Because while betrayal may feel like the end of a chapter, it's often the beginning of truth. And no matter how far someone runs, the truth always knows where to find them.